Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. Another episode of Backyard Blitz brought to you by Backyard Sports. I've got Gary Freeze with me. What's good, partner?
Oh, getting ready for the playoffs that Washington's actually going to be participating in this year. So, pretty exciting. Not backing in as a fucking 7-9 or 8-8 team or a 8-7-1 or 7-8-1 team under Ron Rivera. We are 12-5 and on a bit of a streak here to finish the season. So, excited to get the playoffs started. We get Tampa. Already played them once this year. And we'll see how each team has gotten better as the season's gone on.
Senior, always a pleasure. Yeah, and let's just jump right into it. This is a bit of a mess of a last week here. And Baltimore takes the win at home, 10-35. Baltimore comfortably in their position here. I mean, what a season. What a regular season for the MVP likely. Oh, he wishes.
Yeah, I mean, the MVP conversation is interesting. I still think Josh Allen is going to win it. I think the narrative is just it's his year. Last year should have been his year. Lamar shouldn't have won the MVP last year. He was like the 15th or 16th best quarterback last year and won the MVP. He was just the quarterback on the team with the best record. This year, it's Josh Allen, who should have won it last year, has a very good case this year. They've got a better record than Baltimore, and I just think that's going to happen. But honestly, like I've been telling Bills fans for the last few weeks, like, stop worrying about the MVP because the only trophy that matters is the one they're going to give out in February. And Buffalo's in a pretty good position right now to potentially win win it all, win the Lombardi Trophy. So I wouldn't focus too much on the MVP. Focus on that and bringing that trophy home for the first time.
Eyes on the prize. Definitely
Baltimore does this though. Like, Baltimore had nothing. Like, literally, just had nothing to play for in this game, and they're out there just stuffing stats. And it's why Baltimore probably will never win an important game with Lamar Jackson at quarterback because they are way too focused on stuffing stats with Lamar. Derrick Henry had 1,900 rushing yards this year. Why on earth is Lamar Jackson throwing the ball 3 times every time you're inside the 10? It's so crazy to me. They are trying so hard to stuff the stats with Lamar Jackson.
Pete Carroll, is that you?
Yeah. Cleveland couldn't finish the season fast enough. Holy cow. That was messy. DTR didn't look good. Bailey Zappi got run. Bailey Zappi started this game, and DTR looked bad. And they it's a mess, man. And Kevin Stefanski continues to get let off the hook, but whatever.
Chargers win on the road in Las Vegas, 34-20. We'll get to the Raiders. Raiders have been in disarray. Will continue to be in disarray. Chargers.
Listen, I don't know if a 5 seed has ever had more to play for to be the 5 seed. You could have, if they'd have lost and the chips fell with Pittsburgh, if they'd have beaten Cincy, Pittsburgh would have been the 5 seed and the Chargers would have been the 6 seed. And the difference in the 5 seed and the 6 seed this year is you can either play a floundering Texans team who really look like they are struggling. CJ Stroud, sophomore slump, offensive line is bad, the defense is mediocre. Or you could have played Baltimore, who has an MVP candidate at quarterback, Derrick Henry, and a pretty solid defense. So I don't know if there's ever been a team playing for the 5 seed that had more to play for, but it looked like it because the Chargers were out there playing full steam ahead, and Houston's going to have their fucking hands full because Justin Herbert is all of a man, and they've got a very, very good defense, the number 1 scoring defense in the league. So Chargers going into the playoffs, hot as fish grease. They're going to be a tough out in the AFC.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And how narrowly did they avoid The Chargers having real luck in this wild card weekend here as to where Pittsburgh has got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, you got the better draw as the 5 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pays to play. And Cincinnati, Andy trying to get cheeky here as we're trying to wrap up our regular season record and falls short 19-17 in a real barn burner there in Pittsburgh. Man, I feel like Cincinnati is, which we knew that they're slowly starting to build some momentum and this and that, but I think we also knew going into this game that this was going to be any possible outcome, and Mike Tomlin is completely capable of upsetting, just like Joey Burr is capable of going off and Jamar Chase having a legendary season that he's had. So,
I mean, it just ended up being too little too late for Cincy. I think the entire AFC is fairly fortunate that they didn't get in. I know that that's a narrative that like nobody cares about because they're not in the playoffs, but I don't know who you would rather not play more than Cincinnati right now, as hot as they are. And this game got a little weird. They settled for some field goals. They missed on a couple 4th downs. And it looked like they kind of got out to a lead and just coasted a bit because Russ wasn't very good. But then suddenly late in the game, like things just like Pittsburgh games just seem to kind of get weird down the stretch. I don't know how Pittsburgh does it. It's some sort of like magic and like unicorn farts. But they always seem to have a chance to win late in these games. And Russ takes a terrible sack. And I think that's a narrative that people lose with Russ, with a lot of the other bad play that he makes. He takes some of the worst sacks that any quarterback has ever taken late in games. And he did it again in this game, and they were never able to get within field goal range. So since he is, as my dad put it, scary team, but fortunately for the AFC, they're teeing up at the golf course this week instead of preparing for a playoff game.
Tease up.
Yeah.
Hate to see it for Cincy. Better luck next year. Shout out to their offensive guard, allowing the most sacks, the most pressures, the most giving up.
They had the leader in so many categories. They had Joey Burrow, who was the top quarterback in terms of like just pure statistics, touchdowns, passing yards. They had the top sack leader, and they had the Triple Crown winner in Jamar Chase. They had a number 2 receiver who had 10 touchdowns and 900 and some yards. And they had a guard who gave up the most sacks and pressures on the year. Not the one you want, but this is a team that it was a weird start to the season. They end up, I believe they were like 2-6 at one point and just never 3-8, I think, even at one point. And they win 5 or 6 straight to end the season. And it's just too little too late.
Yeah, and speaking of too little, too late, Arizona takes a win at home, 47-24, in the who don't give a fuck bowl game of the week, and all of us lost on the picks, which is unfortunate. But Cincy Arizona just kind of doing their thing. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, San Fran really we probably should have seen the writing on the wall that they literally just didn't have anything to play for. They get another running back hurt this week. They can't seem to stay healthy. Arizona is, as we've said all season, like they're a scrappy bad team. So they can punch you in the mouth a little bit. And I think that's what happened here with San Francisco. On the road, not a lot to play for. Honestly, better off that they lost because they would have fallen, I think they're like 7th right now in the draft order, and they would have fallen into like 10th or 11th, double digits. So not a game that San Francisco really had much to play for, and we probably should have seen the writing on the wall with it, but we did not.
Very true. Very true. And this one, I thought was probably going to be a snooze fest. Arguably was the best game of the week.
I think it was.
All of us, loser party of 3, fucking come on. Young quarterbacks giving me hope for next season. Love this game. Every part of it. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Young and Michael Penix, they put on a show. Neither defense really had an answer. Atlanta's got their quarterback of the future. And after a midseason swoon where people thought Carolina was going to be back in the running for a quarterback this offseason in the draft, it looks like Bryce Young is the guy. So this NFC South, it's going to, I think we might finally see this division pick itself up off the mat. I don't know that New Orleans has a lot in terms of prospects going into next year. I think they're going to be in the quarterback market. I don't think they're sold on Spencer Rattler, but Tampa has won the division. They have Baker Mayfield. They've got Mike Evans coming back again. Chris Godwin should get healthy. Jalen McMillan looks really, really good for Tampa. And then we saw these two teams put on an offensive show. Going forward, the NFC South might rise up a little bit. Not to throw too much of a pun out there about the South rising up, but the NFC South could be a division with maybe more than one team competing for a playoff spot next year.
You heard it here first, folks. The NFC South will rise again. Kansas City sitting all starters. I will take the loser island here, 38-0. Wow. Turned on the score, I think, once at halftime, and I was like, "Whoa, I deserve this."
Yeah, this felt like sort of exactly what it was going into this game, where you had one team that literally had nothing to play for, and I know the Kansas City media kind of poo-pooed it, but nobody wanted to see Cincinnati make the playoffs. Kansas City had nothing to play for this week, so there's no reason to play the starters. And Denver had everything to play for, win and in. And this score reflects that. There were a couple of bounces that went their way. That double tip in the end zone that ended up a touchdown for Denver. They just put it to Kansas City, and Carson Wentz didn't look like he was comfortable out there at all. Stinks to be put in that situation if you're Carson Wentz, because you're kind of just out there under fire, and clearly, right? Yeah, my dad put it perfectly. They just didn't want to be there. They wanted to get to the playoffs and get their bye week and get ready for the divisional round, and Denver was playing for everything. They had their season on the line. Cincinnati, it's funny. Cincinnati had a little bit of a watch party with a few people in Zach Taylor's office watching the game, and you can just feel the energy in the room just draining as Denver continues to score points and Kansas City showing no life. There was never really a doubt that Denver was going to punch their ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, I can definitely understand the hate behind this move. It definitely kind of, does Denver rob someone else of a chance of getting in with the win?
Look, they won 10 games, so can't fault them. They did their job and took care of business.
They did. They did in fact take care of business, as did Seattle and Gary on Victory Island here, 30-25.
Yeah, this was entirely the pick was entirely about the incentives versus the non-incentives. The Rams, I know it was kind of midweek, and we not necessarily know exactly who's going to be sitting, but the Rams decided they weren't going to play a lot of starters. They got a pretty solid performance out of Jimmy Garoppolo and company. The backups had a pretty good day for the Rams, but Seattle had a lot to play for. Geno Smith particularly had a lot to play for. He had $6 million in incentives on the line in this game. So a win got him $2 million, keeping his completion percentage above 69.75. I don't know how they come up with that number. Got him another $2 million, and he needed 182 passing yards to get another $2 million. So for me, that was really the biggest thing, is like Seattle's got some stuff to play for. Yeah, they were eliminated from the playoffs, but they had some things to play for, and the Rams really didn't. They were locked into the 4 seed.
Yeah, rightfully so. The rest of the teams keep that old ass quarterback resting as much as possible. He's gonna need his rest.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit before the show started. I've never been a fan, and just as a Texan, I've never been a fan of this shit that Tennessee pulls, where they wear the Oilers jerseys against Houston. I'm not with that bullshit, because y'all are just posers. It's nothing against the Titans. I was a fan of the Titans when they first went to Tennessee and they left Houston. But make no mistake. Look right here, camera center right here. Hold on, let me just go ahead and. All right, right here. Under no circumstances are y'all even authorized to even wear that Oiler, that shrine, that beauty, that piece of football history. Not once are you entitled to it. And that score should tell you everything you need to know about it. Unacceptable, will not be authorized. But 23-14, Houston moves on. They have a tough game next week that we'll talk about as well. And Tennessee's hitting tees. Got a tee time.
Yeah, I mean it's a beautiful beautiful uniform. But yeah, I mean I don't have a rooting interest, so I like to see it because it's a beautiful uniform, but I understand as a Texan and somebody who probably had a bit of a soft spot for the Houston Oilers when they were there, I understand your ire for the team in Tennessee wearing it against the team that now plays in Houston. Ho-hum, no big deal game here. Tony Pollard got over 1,000 yards. But not a whole lot to take from this game. Tennessee remains, actually, Tennessee moves into the number 1 spot because the New England Patriots decided they were going to beat the Buffalo Bills here at the end of the week. So, yeah, Tennessee in the catbird seat takes the L against Houston, but in the long run, they got the W because now they are on the clock.
Hundo Peasy, it was the right thing to do. Throw the game, be done with it. You weren't going to beat them anyways. Not to say that Houston is an excellent team.
Yeah, they did what the Giants last week and the Patriots this week couldn't do, and that's just don't go fucking win a game.
That's and I feel like even then New York tried and Philly tried to give it to them. 13-20. Not a super big victory, but enough to probably cover the points. And it's a tough go.
Yeah, this game meant nothing to either team, really, other than the Giants just kind of want to maintain where they're at in the draft. If they're going to chase a quarterback, they don't want to fall too far. Philly had no incentive to play. Once they decided they weren't going to chase the record with Barkley, there's 0% reason for Philly to be really pursuing a victory in this game with their starters. Jalen Hurts finally cleared concussion protocol. I don't know, last week, was it really just not much of an assessment? But they were never going to have Jalen Hurts in this game. They end up going with the third string, what's his name? Tyler McGee, I believe, because Pickett's got bruised ribs as well. But yeah, this is just I just thought this was going to be a race to the bottom, and that's why I was on the Giants. I didn't think Philly was going to try much. They didn't, but the Giants tried even less.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough go. On to Indianapolis winning at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. All of us predicted correctly here that Indy would win. And, Indy kind of in another position where they're going to – this was another kind of don't really give a shit game, obviously. But, good for them.
After losing to the Giants last week, Indy had nothing to play for. Jacksonville also literally had no reason to win, just maintain their draft slot. They're going to have a new coach, new GM, and they're going to try to build around Trevor Lawrence here and revitalize his career. And the Colts, like I said, after losing to the Giants last week, this was just kind of who actually wants to win this one. And turns out Indianapolis wanted it just a touch more than Jacksonville did in Week 18.
Just a tad, and it wasn't. It was enough to help Jacksonville secure a better draft pick. So good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Andy rides with the home team, as he should. Andy rides home victorious with the home team against a formidable opponent. You and I had a conversation about this game last week, and I think that we were – everything that I saw told me that I needed to go with Minnesota because they were going to pull this upset, and that is just not what happened.
No, this was a very strange game. This was Minnesota, like imposter syndrome. I don't know what happened. Like they went for it a bunch on fourth down, which is not what I would have expected a whole lot from them. I wouldn't have expected them needing to go for it on fourth down a lot. This Detroit secondary was absolutely decimated, and they played an incredible game. Like Amir, is it Robinson? I think Amir Robertson, kind of an unknown guy from Louisiana Tech, I believe is where he went to college, but he has played against Justin Jefferson a couple times. They played in high school, and they played LSU plays those small Louisiana schools as well in their bye weeks. But he did a fucking hell of a job against Justin Jefferson. They played a lot of man, they played a lot of safety help, but they blitzed a ton. And I think that was counterintuitive to what Detroit's been doing all season. But also, I think that really fucking caught Minnesota off guard. I think they just they didn't adjust in game, which is surprising to me because Kevin O'Connell's a very good in-game manager, very good in-game play caller. He didn't do a very good job. Sam Darnold didn't handle the pressure very well. He looked very, very disjointed in this game. And the scoreboard shows it. I mean, he scored 9 points. That's not good for a team that was averaging, I believe, 28.5 a game coming in. Darnold was like a fringe MVP candidate in some conversations and people reminding everybody of how good of a season he was having. This was terrible. However, I want to give Detroit their flowers because Detroit's offense wasn't great in this game. Minnesota's defense is very, very good. Detroit still scored 31. Detroit stayed within their character. Jahmyr Gibbs had a huge day with 4 touchdowns. Detroit ran the ball, and they were insistent upon the fact that they were going to establish the run against the Minnesota defense that had been very good against both the pass and the run all year. And that defense was incredible. And this game might be like the icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae that gets Aaron Glenn a head coaching job next year. What a masterful job by him with the way that they designed the coverages and the way he was scheming up blitzes. It was an unbelievable job. And I wish Andy was here to kind of give his take as a fan and kind of gloat a bit about getting the 1 seed. But Detroit did a masterful job of just really confusing Minnesota and taking advantage of the things that they identified clearly in the lead up to the week that they thought they could.
Yeah, 100%. Big win for them against against division rival. It, obviously it's definitely going to be and that's not necessarily a bad blow for Minnesota either. I don't know how that affected the seeding for them, but I mean, playing LA,
they
not a bad matchup. Yeah.
So they're going to go to LA with a home game. Yeah.
Vikings D definitely did earn their paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, they played well. The offense was bad. Detroit's defense was spectacular, though.
I waffled on this one, and I almost picked Dallas, and I'm glad I didn't. 23-19, and I really did think for a second that it was going to come down to it, and somehow they were going to pull off this win that was just kind of at a loss for words there.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know it's rivalry week and teams get up for rivals, but Dallas in both games this year especially just had our number. It was pressure. Jaden Daniels was under pressure the whole first half. Micah Parsons is a freak athlete, and we all know that. And Jaden can't just escape against a guy like Micah Parsons because he runs like a fucking DB. Dallas just seems to have our number, and if Dallas is any better next year, if they figure this thing out in the offseason, Dak's healthy and whatnot, Dallas is probably going to be back near the top of the NFC East, especially in the NFC. And I don't know what the answer is for Washington against this Dallas team because all the indicators are that right now Washington's a much better team than Dallas. But for 30 minutes of this game, Dallas was a much better team than Washington. Now in the second half, Washington kind of figured it out. Marcus Mariota managed the game in the second half. The offensive line seemed to play better in the second half. I don't know what happened at halftime versus the start of the game. the offensive line was better. We ran the ball better in the second half. We were able to give Mariota some time. And I just want to remind everybody, this may feel like Terry McLaurin's coming out party, but if we hadn't been a dog shit doormat team for 5 years under Ron Rivera, or 4 years under Ron Rivera, you guys would know who Terry McLaurin is, because this is who he's been all along, just with awful quarterback play, awful offensive scheming. He's setting all the franchise records for receivers. He got the touchdown record this year. He's had 1,000 yards with terrible quarterbacks leading up. He's had his best year this year because we have our best quarterback we've ever had. This is who Terry's been all along. For those that are seeing this and being, oh my God, who's this Terry McLaurin guy? Like, this is who he's been. We're just finally a good team. But he's awesome. That the way he mossed Bland on that touchdown, nothing makes me happier, because I do not like Deron Bland. I think I don't like the way he carries himself and handles himself and the way he talks in the media and stuff. It makes me happy when guys that do that sort of stuff get taken to the woodshed. It's a spiteful thing from me. I'm very aware that makes me the old man get off my lawn, but it couldn't have happened over a better guy.
You said it. It also appears as though Chicago has taken ownership of Lambeau Field. 24-22.
Yeah, very interesting game here, because the 6th seed was up in the air between Washington and Green Bay. So Green Bay ends up the 7th seed because of this. This all kind of happened in like a 30-second time span, where Chicago ends up kicking a field goal and they actually make a game-winning field goal, other than, they've missed and blocked and all this shit all this year. They found new ways to lose. I thought they did it again in this game with the way that Caleb Williams just continues to take terrible sacks. But Chicago kicks the field goal, and we've got the ball with a chance. We could have kicked the field goal to tie the game and go into overtime. And I was really hoping that, like, somebody was in Dan's ear telling him, like, hey, Green Bay lost. There's no reason to go to overtime and play longer. We've got the 6th seed. Throw the ball in the end zone twice. If we lose 19-16, who gives a fuck? If we win 23-19, fine. Like, let's relax here and just throw the ball in the end zone twice. And it seems like maybe.
Do you want Tampa or do you want Philly? It doesn't matter. It's all said and done. Just fucking call it.
Exactly. So there's no reason to go to fucking overtime.
Nope. No reason whatsoever.
Yep.
Speaking of no reason whatsoever, football, Miami, taking an L in New York, 20-32. Gary rides another island. I mean, where was this game selection all season?
The first 8 weeks, I was terrible. I was fucking terrible for about 8 weeks.
20-32, and Aaron Rodgers, is he a Jet next year?
No.
Is he an NFL quarterback next year?
No. I think he's retiring. I'll be honest.
I think he should.
I could be wrong about that, but I think he's retiring. I think he's just going to go podcast and do ayahuasca. Honestly,
as he should. Just
he may end
up
somewhere, but whatever GM makes that mistake, I pity them. This was really just about, like, Miami. They're a mess. Tua wasn't playing. Tyler Huntley was going to be quarterback, and they're no good with Tyler Huntley. And Jesus Christ, they took another L in the media after the game. Tyreek Hill talking, I'm out. Captain letter on, or the captain C on his chest, and talking to the media, I'm out. But also fucking the mic'd up, the NFL hot mic catches him like just quitting on the team mid game. Jalen Waddle's like, hey man, what are you doing? It's not good. It's ugly. It's a bad finish there in Miami. For just a terrible way to finish the season.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
Yep.
I hate that for Coach McDaniels having an answer for that right up front on the podium. I mean, it's bad form. There's no other way to really put that. It's it's a bad look on the whole situation. And yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Aaron Rodgers can't be a quarterback next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a desperate franchise out there that will take a chance, but
somebody will.
I can't imagine being an NFL GM and seeing what he did this year and being like, yeah, I think I'm going to bring that guy in.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see
That's
it.
who I want leading my locker room.
Oh, I just don't see it.
Which sucks because now, you have Devontae Adams who followed Derek Carr to Vegas, getting stranded in New York. And we're
Well, so
talking about
I
somebody.
believe his contract is up. So I
Yeah,
think let me check
yeah,
that real
he had a
quick.
1-year deal, but where is he going?
I think that's all he had left. So I think he's gonna end up. I think he's gonna end up somewhere as someone's number 2. Actually, I take that back. He is not a free agent, so the Jets are stuck with that fucking $35 million whale. Ugh.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was wrong.
To add insult to injury.
He's got 2 more years.
Oh no.
Yeah.
3-year contract. Sick.
Not good.
Yeah. Quick poll for the viewers here. Just throw it in the chat. Are you saying ayahuasca or NFL? It's just pick one. Let us know. Where's Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers gonna retire.
Yes. Is Rodgers gonna waska, or is he going to? Is he going to continue to sling pig skin?
Yeah.
Tampa secures a win at home, 19-27. Congrats to them on a great season. Obviously, doing the thing. Mike Evans doing the things that he does.
Yeah.
Mr. Consistent as per usual. And playoffs are not going to be an easy track for them.
No.
They've got a tough first week opponent here this wild card weekend.
Yeah. I get emotional when things like that happen in sports, where they get a chance to get Mike Evans the 5 yards that he needs to get to 1,000, because that's a locker room that erupted. That team on the field erupted when he got 7 yards to get to 1,000 yards to keep his streak alive. And yeah, Robert, yeah, there you go. Darkness retreat, cry himself to sleep. But really cool for the Bucs that they were able to both win the game and get Mike Evans his number. It looked a little bit bleak at the end there because they had to get into the end zone to win this game, to seal this game up. And Baker tried to find Mike Evans for the game-winning touchdown, but wasn't able to. They doubled him, but he ended up getting Bucky Irving into the end zone. And then Tampa's defense was able to make a stop with enough time left to get a play. So that was really, really cool what they did. But congrats to Tampa, 3 seed. Baker Mayfield, man, I can't tell you how happy it makes me that Baker's on the redemption tour down in Tampa, because they did him so dirty in Cleveland.
So dirty.
He's still the only quarterback to win a playoff game in Cleveland since like fucking Vietnam. And I just it's awesome to see that he is winning down in Tampa while Cleveland is getting everything they fucking deserve with the Deshaun Watson debacle. It's awesome to see.
Potentially missing more time. I thought I saw something that
setback.
His injury,
setback in recovery, might end up with another surgery. Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think Rodgers has I think a lot of what he's done in the media, teams are going to look at and be like, I don't know if I need that fucking nonsense here.
Yeah, there's something about public image, man, and sometimes that controversy, you want that type of attention in the locker room. There's certain people, the Jalen Ramseys, the talking heads, the mouths of the locker room. Those guys are one thing, but like this guy is legitimately batshit crazy. And so, yeah, I don't imagine that. I don't know. I don't imagine that he can rebuild it, but
it's tough.
I digress. The last one, I kind of thought we would gloss over this one. Pat's got the win. Buffs are in it, or Buffalo's in it. The thing is, Jared Mayo. We need to talk about Jared Mayo.
It's tough, man, because like we watched Lovie Smith do this in Houston a couple years ago, right? He goes down to the wire and keeps his team playing hard on a really, really bad roster. Wins the last game of the season. They dropped the first pick because Houston would have had the first pick, and he gets fired right after the game. And Robert Kraft does like the most half-hearted, half-assed apology in the media after, and it's like, fuck you, guy. Like, go fuck yourself. Because Gerard Mayo was the coach in waiting when Bill Belichick was still there. and they hire him and elevate him to head coach after Belichick leaves, and then you fire him after one season, you found your fucking quarterback. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? We have Drake May and a first-year head coach who can grow together. And what? You're going to get rid of the head coach? Now, if they go get Mike Vrabel, that's a nice consolation prize. But I think this is fucking bullshit what the Pats did to Mayo. It's just nonsense what they did to Mayo after this game. It's fuck you, Robert Kraft. Seriously, Buffalo. The only thing in this game is like Josh Allen got his streak, took one snap, handed the ball off, ran off the field. James Cook got to 1,000 yards, so they were kind of chasing some incentives and a little bit of history. But yeah, not a whole lot from this game other than, as you mentioned it, the Mayo thing is just, you found your fucking quarterback. Why are you going to disrupt the coaching staff?
Right. Exactly.
Just nonsense.
Exactly. It's an absolute fucking travesty, I think. And I'm sure that he'll get another look down the way, but I do feel like this sets him back at an opportunity at a head coach position.
I think you're right, man, because it's not good, dude. Not good. They did him fucking dirty.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that wraps up the regular season. I guess I didn't have a chance to really kind of brag because I'm not good at picking anything. But yeah, I get a final 5-game lead here over Andy to take down the season. Smashed.
I was like the Bengals this year. Too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Great week. Too little, too late. Should have did that 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But we are on to the most important part of our episode. Gary and myself are Navy veterans. We served together, and then on the same ship, deployed a couple times together, and we started this podcast 7 years ago, which is crazy to think about. And since then, every episode that we've come out with has been dedicated to a fallen service member and our Folds of Honor sponsored segment that we call our Salute to Service. This episode is going to be dedicated to Army Specialist Robert J. Cook, who passed away January 29th, 2004, serving during Operation Enduring Freedom. He was 24 years old from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, and he was assigned to 2nd Battalion, 87th Infantry Regiment, 10th Mountain Division out of Fort Drum, New York. And he was killed when weapons cache exploded in Afghanistan. Army Specialist Robert J. Cook. We have the watch. And to the most, not once, I don't know how many episodes we've done, hundreds, and not once has this transition been easy, but we are on to the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend. We got lots of tee times here, as you see, folks. We got some first-round buys here for the NFC North, or the NFC and AFC number 1 seeds. We've got tee times for a whole shit ton of other teams. And we've got our picks in for the 6 games we have going on. It's L.A. in Houston. All 3 of us riding with L.A. I don't think there's any surprises there. Anything you expect to see there?
No, I think what we really run into here is that, you know, we've got 2 teams that are kind of on different trajectories. Fortunately for Houston, they play in a very, very bad division. Unfortunately for Houston, that division probably has not prepared them for a decent playoff run. I just think LA right now has a quarterback playing better. They have a defense playing better, and they have an offensive line playing better. So for all those reasons, I think this is LA, and honestly, they might be pretty comfortable in this game. One thing I do want to make note of is, like, Quentin Johnston had a breakout game last week. If that's the Quentin Johnston we're going to get going forward, this Chargers team is going to be an even more difficult out than I expect them to be. He was fucking electric last week catching the ball. Like, that might be the biggest surprise of Week 18 is the fact that Quentin Johnston caught the football. And if he continues to do that going forward, he's so fast and athletic that he can be a very big difference maker for this Chargers team. But I think they could win this pretty comfortably against Houston.
Yeah, and the Chargers, an opponent on the road at a -3 favorite here in Houston, which I feel like I'm comfortable with that all day.
Yeah,
over under I think 42.5.
I'm laying those points for sure.
Hundo Peasy, another one, unanimous across the board. First few of these are kind of predictable. Pittsburgh on the road against Baltimore. All three of us riding with Baltimore. This should be, the next best situation to a first round bye. However, the Steelers are the fucking Steelers, and I will never not vote them out. They can absolutely upset the Baltimore Ravens, but it will be because the Baltimore Ravens allowed that to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a chance, right? Division rival. It's Pittsburgh.
It's gotta be
scrappy. They're going to play hard, but
but Baltimore by a mile, 9.5 point favorites, especially at home.
And that number's probably not enough, honestly.
No.
This is another tale of two teams that are heading in opposite directions. Pittsburgh floundered into the playoffs. They locked up a spot a couple of weeks ago and never played good football to finish the season. I don't know that they're going to be able to turn it on against Baltimore in the playoffs. So, yeah, 9.5, I probably will lay those fucking points too. 10 is a lot in the NFL, but these two teams feel like they're kind of worlds apart right now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's going to take a lot more. It's going to take a hell of a lot of effort from Pittsburgh to try to overcome that. Buffalo also at home against Denver Broncos, all riding with Buffalo. Buffalo -8 over under 47.5. And again, I would expect some conservative play out of Buffalo. Like once they get, I expect this to be a blowout. I mean, I think that once they get that comfortable lead, you could see Josh Allen fucking sitting down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I agree. I think Buffalo is just better than Denver. Denver's defense is good, but like Josh Allen just doesn't take sacks. He hasn't turned the ball over this year. Buffalo's defense is fine. I think they're going to give enough problems to Denver's offense. Big thing to me is like the screen game. Denver's very good in the screen game. Buffalo's going to have to prepare for that, but I just think Buffalo's going to score enough points in this. Like, I don't think Denver can score 30 points against Buffalo. I think Buffalo can score 30 points against Denver. So I just think that the difference is on the offensive side of the ball. Josh Allen versus Bo Nix. I just think that they're just a better team.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's really the next best thing to a first round bye. Is to have the Denver Broncos when you're the fucking Buffalo Bills. So I like the ballsiness of this pick. I do. Going into Green Bay on the road in Philly. Philly's a tough one. If Green Bay wins, they're going to burn that fucking town to the ground.
Oh, probably. I mean, they'll fucking burn the town down for, I don't know, fucking Rocky winning
the conference championship. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But listen, this is a little bit of me sticking with, I picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl against Buffalo this year. So this is me sticking a little bit with that. Also, I wasn't 100% sure Jalen Hurts was going to play this week because of the concussion protocol questions. He's going to play, but I have a sneaky feeling he's not going to be very sharp. And I don't know that Barkley's going to run that well against this Green Bay team. They're a very good defense, a very stout up front. Yeah, for sure. Josh playing smart. That's going to be the difference, I think, against Denver. Not being able to turn them over, I think, is going to be a problem for Denver. I just don't think they're going to be able to score enough. Green Bay's defense is very good. I don't know that Saquon's going to run for 200 yards like he has against a lot of teams this year. And I'm not sure that Jalen Hurts, coming off of a 2-week layoff, is going to be that sharp, especially coming out of concussion protocol. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Green Bay. My confidence level on this isn't the highest because Philly has a very, very good defense as well. And Jordan Love's a little bit nicked up, but they say he's going to be just fine, that it was more of a funny bone thing. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with my guns. I picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to root for them to knock off Philly as well.
Fair enough. I'm kind of doing that later on in this series of picks, but Washington looks like this is Andy's. I like how we're all each on our own island here. This is a nice way to kind of start the wild card weekend. This is Andy's island. He's riding with Tampa Bay here to pull off the upset at home against Washington. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not either. The smart pick is Tampa Bay, man. Like, that's the smart pick. They're a good team. They've got weapons. They've got savvy. They've been in the playoffs. They've got a quarterback that's won a playoff game. This is a homer pick for me. I'm going to be transparent. I'm in. I'm fully in, and I'm picking Washington simply because it's Washington. And do I think we can win? Yes, I do. I think we can score with Tampa. I think we can score points on this defense. But this pick, the smart money's on Tampa. This pick for me is 100% me finally embracing the fact that I'm a Washington Commanders fan.
I went into this pick expecting me to be the island. I expected to be the island. I expected you to just ride with the safe pick and just to do that and to do what you fucking do against your own goddamn team, which is unforgivable sometimes. I'm
not that guy anymore. He's a
changed man, folks.
Turned over a new leaf.
Man. He's found the Lord and Savior, Jaden Daniels. He's
Lord and Savior, Jaden Daniels.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, this was one that I felt like I chose two upsets, this one and the next game, and I see that happening. I'm much more confident about Washington pulling the upset than I am LA. And the only reason I say that is, and I wasn't as confident until LA got moved to Arizona because of the Fires.
Yeah.
Once they lost that home field advantage, I think at that point, neutral territory, I still expect, I think Minnesota may end up pulling off the win on this one, but I'm confident in Washington. They can do it.
Yep.
Hundo peasy. And for the final round,
in the middle.
There you go. Let's see how Andy does. Let's see if he just takes the easy victory island here for him. And I will take another. This is another dark horse pick here, but I'm riding with LA. I guess I didn't talk about the numbers here, but Tampa Bay 3-point favorites at home. So really just getting home field advantage. That's not,
Vegas sees it as a little bit of a pick 'em.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Minnesota has the line here, -2.5 favorites, and the game has been relocated due to the Fires. It's going to be in Arizona. This is going to be. I think it's going to be a tough game for LA, obviously, but I think I had them initially to try to get that home field advantage, kind of swing momentum, pulling this victory off, because what we saw out of Minnesota last week proves how beatable Minnesota can be.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that when you look at that, it makes LA seem like the team that's capable of pulling off that upset, because we've seen them throughout the season where we're like, what the hell is LA doing? And then all of a sudden Cup shows up, or whoever it is. And so I have faith in LA being able to pull off the upset, but I do believe that it may end up just being Minnesota purely on that fucking loss of home field advantage.
Yeah, I think that home field, or the pseudo home field that LA has, is completely gone, because Rams fans don't really show up to home games in LA that much.
True.
They certainly aren't going to travel to Arizona for a game. So this could be a very heavy Minnesota presence in this game, because that is a fan base that does travel. There are a handful of franchises where the fan base travels well. Pittsburgh's one. Detroit has become one. Buffalo is one. And Minnesota is definitely one. Skull, they do a pretty good job of traveling and supporting their team. So they're going to have some seats available in Arizona if they're willing to travel there. I don't think people in Minnesota would mind a little bit of a vacation to the desert this time of year with how cold and snowy it is up that way. But yeah, give me Minnesota. The one worry I have is that Jared Verse and company are going to be able to be in the backfield all night against Sam Darnold after watching the way that Detroit was able to create pressure. LA's got back-to-back years where they have like the top 2 rookies in terms of pressure, both internal and external, interior and perimeter defenders on the defensive line that create pressure. So they've done a really good job of reloading that defensive line in the aftermath of Aaron Donald's retirement. That worries me a little bit, but I think this could be a sneaky low-scoring game. I know the over/under, I think it's like 52.5, if I remember correctly. This could be a sneaky under game because I think both defenses could disrupt the passing game for these teams. And I don't think either team is going to be able to run the ball super well either.
Yeah, this could definitely be a low-scoring game just purely on defenses alone. Yeah,
for sure.
Hundo peasy. And other than that, Chiefs, Lions on the bye week, and everyone else on a tea time. We've just concluded the NFL Super Wildcard preview. What else we got, man? Any closing thoughts?
Just enjoy it, man. We've got a lot more football in the playoffs than, when I was growing up, we'd get like a wild card game and then it was the divisional round the following weekend in each conference. We've got fucking 6 games this weekend in the wild card. I know everybody complains about, all these extra playoff teams and it just doesn't mean the same and yada, 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 yada. Just enjoy it. We've got more football. Some of it's going to be ugly. There's going to be some blowouts because there's going to be some teams that probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs or shouldn't have been in the seed that they're in. Just enjoy it. Have fun. Enjoy playoff football. It's fucking here. And we're going to start narrowing this thing down and figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl this year.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be good. It's going to be a super weekend. Definitely looking forward to it. Looking forward. You like it? Dad puns never fails.
Absolutely.
Definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a good weekend of football. I'm looking forward to chatting and debriefing with all of you guys on how our picks turned out, good, bad, or indifferent. Yep. We'll talk next week more, and be sure to tune in as we have college football playoffs. Man, oh man, ongoing. Notre Dame, Penn State right now happening. Bowl games happening again tomorrow. It is freezing, slush, rain, cold in Dallas tomorrow. And this is an open-air stadium. It is Ohio bringing their fucking weather to Dallas-Fort Worth. So be sure to tune in to the Tailgate Trash Talk podcast where we talk and we'll break down college football right here on the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, share with your friends, everything else. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week here on Backyard Blitz, brought to you by Backyard Sports Media. See you guys next week.